Say, if they had built it.
We call the meeting order. We had an invocation by Commissioner
Max.
Max.
All right, here. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and a community and make tough decisions. Amen.
We had a roll call.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Here.
Commissioner Thorne? Here. Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Here.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Here.
Commissioner Skeen?
Here.
Commissioner Safley?
Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
A motion.
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Aye.
Commissioner Safley?
Aye.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
All right, our first new business item is PL 1781, Edgewater PUD Revision. Request a way to revise 1.3 acres of the Edgewater PUD to allow an auto repair facility. The subject property is located on the south side of Holly Springs Road, east of McIngvale Road. Parcel number, and it's in the minutes, in the report, in section 20, Township 3, range 4, Robbie Jones representing the owner. Mr. Cados, will you please present the planning staff report and comments?
Yes, sir. As you mentioned, this is PL 1781, and the request is a zoning map amendment to revise the commercial portion of the Edgewater PUD to allow an auto repair facility as shown in your staff report. Jones Davis Engineering is here tonight representing the applicant. The property is currently under the designation of activity retail in the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan. The PUD in question, the Edgewater PUD, was approved in 1998, and the uses in that PUD in the commercial section are governed by the C1 neighborhood commercial portion of the zoning ordinance, and as such, the auto repair facility is not allowed by right in the C1. So that's what they're asking tonight, is to revise the commercial uses to allow for an auto repair. The applicant did provide a preliminary site plan, building elevations, and proposed landscape plan. If approved, this would all be subject to our design regulations and buffer yard requirements, and so everything preliminarily does appear to meet the design standards, but it would go through certificate of development review if approved, if it gets to that point. I'll read this once for the record tonight, but the three criteria for rezoning for our approval or denial criteria are how this proposed amendment conforms to the general development plan, why the existing zoning district classification of the property is inappropriate or improper, and what changes, economic, physical, or social, have occurred in the vicinity that were not anticipated by the general development plan that have altered the basic character of the neighborhood. And the applicant has provided responses to each of those questions. The property does have access to city water and sewer, and this does serve, being a PUD, as a preliminary plat, and so the next step would be for a final plat application if approved tonight for the use. And the road improvements would be subject to our subdivision regulations. The recommendation tonight, approval or denial, will be heard at the January 16th meeting for the Board of Aldermen. And I've proposed two motions to approve and deny in your staff report for reference. And generally speaking, it's 1.3 acres requested to be revised in the PUD. And as you see on the preliminary site plan, landscape plan, everything appears to meet the design regulations, but as I mentioned, it will go through the full review if approved tonight. The applicants are here tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Cados? Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bob Ginn, 8295 Oakwood Lane, Olive Branch, Mississippi. As was stated, we're asking for one change to the PUD, and that's an amendment to the text that would allow for auto repair. This property was, the PUD was approved in 1998, as you heard. And I think we can all agree that there's been a lot of changes in that area since 1998. One of note would be the new car dealership right around the corner. Of course, there's been a lot of residential development as well. But the addition to the area of a reputable automobile repair shop, I think could certainly be needed as far as the residential subdivisions are concerned, is a place to, that would be certainly convenient. The Moores have been in South Haven for a long time, and a very reputable company there. Most of their employees, all but one, I believe, live in Hernando, and they want to move their shop here. I think it would be a great addition. But a couple of things that I want to make clear. It's been on record as being commercial since 1998. So this is not a surprise. So the question is what's going to be there. I think the need in the area has certainly changed. The C1 did not provide for this, might not have been envisioned at that point in time. But they have done an exceptional job. Have you got pictures of that's of the building itself? That would be helpful. The building's situated on the lot so that there's only 50 feet of it that would be seen from the rear, which would be from the subdivision behind it. It's an attractive building with all brick. The hours of operation are only Monday through Friday. They stop at 6 o'clock, no weekends. All the traffic, of course, coming in and out of the site would be exit and entrance onto Holly Springs Road. In the rear of the lot, there's already an existing 6-foot wood fence, but then there'd be a 25-foot buffer yard that's going to have a 3-foot berm on top of that and a 6-foot brick wall on top of that, plus landscaping. So they have gone above and beyond, done everything they can to make the building presentable. So the only, all you're going to see from the back is just the top part of that brick building. And they're not going to be working on weekends. There won't be any inoperable cars parked outside of that building. All repairs will take place in the building. And let's see.
Is there going to be some sort of fencing, barrier or something, I'm sure of? Or is it all
Talking about on the rear or the sides?
or on the sides?
I don't know. Is there going to be a fence on the side? It's zone commercial on both sides of it, so
I didn't know if it was going to be like a gate and a fence around it or anything like that.
No? Okay, not at this time, anyway. No, okay.
The berm in the back, I noticed that there appears to be a setback between the residential area and the berm area, if I'm looking at it correctly. What's in that setback area? Is that just kind of wild growth, or what is?
Well, it's going to be landscaped.
Okay, I see the landscaping on what appears to be the berm, if I'm looking at it correctly. And then there's an area, and Austin, you can help me out if I'm looking at this correctly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my PDF froze, that's why I'm scrambling.
I'm looking at sheet number SP2. I don't know if that helps you at all, sir, or
I think
not.
we're talking between
Yeah.
on the barrier.
Well, between the residential,
Setback.
I'm just kind of wondering what that is. It looks like it runs all the way along the residential.
There's a utility easement at the back of the property.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, there is a utility, it's a sewer easement.
So that'll be an additional, what is that, about 10 feet or so?
It's 10 feet, I think, but I think it falls within the 35-foot buffer.
So that adds to your buffer, I guess,
I don't think
or
so.
decreases.
I think it's within the buffer.
Okay.
But we can't, you can't do anything on top of the sewer easement.
You're not altering that, and that's why.
No, not at all, not at all, right.
That's why I'm seeing it looks like there's about a 10-foot space. There's nothing.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Any other questions?
Is this on the lot directly next to the gas station?
It's next to.
Or next to the realty place?
The realty, yeah.
Okay.
Right there.
So
Uh-huh.
there's Because we're just looking at this, and so those two lots on this lot 1, lot 2, they're already built out.
That's correct. I think there's one building on both lots, if I'm not mistaken, or it looks like there is.
Right. Where that realty
Uh-huh.
and carpet flooring is and stuff.
What kind of buffer is between those two, between the realty and the carpet flooring store and the residential area?
I think they have a road to go back. So they may have a back entrance, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that might
See
help.
that?
Okay.
See, there's a road that comes off of that building that goes back to that other street right there. Right?
Drive.
It's not accessible though.
It's not accessible, but.
There's a fence across it.
Okay, there's a fence, okay, but it wasn't, okay, yeah.
That's just kind of
Block.
open area in the back of that. Okay.
With a black wrought iron fence.
So this would be one lot, it wouldn't, this building is not gonna take up that whole space in between there and the gas station.
Not at all.
Right,
The building's only 50 feet wide, and it goes out towards the street,
right, yeah.
and then there's parking beside that.
So what are they gonna do with the balance of the acreage?
We'll get you going, but you can come up here in a second when you finish.
I'm assuming that it's, because it's several acres there, like 3 acres or whatever, so they're probably lotting, it's a different lot, it's probably.
Right, this
one
is
lot.
only 1.3, yeah.
So the other 2 lots will still be for sale by whoever
Yeah,
owns.
what, correct.
Since the question's already been asked, do you have any plans for the additional acreage between, I guess, there and the gas station?
This takes up the whole.
It takes up the whole,
1.3
okay.
acres, yeah.
Question on the parking lot. You had mentioned no inoperable cars will be outside the building.
No, there won't be.
I'm looking at the parking lot, the number of spaces.
Mhm.
That's an awful lot of cars for not being in the building. What are, there's, an auto craft or an auto repair facility is gonna have some cars that are not being worked on and not visitors. So is there no fenced area or anywhere to disguise cars that are left overnight or gotta be there for 3 or 4 days that are not in the building?
Well, you want to address that?
Well, I mean,
You can come and state your name and address.
yeah, I'm Chris Moore, I would be the owner, but, as far as, cars you take in daily, if we take, like, in my business as we speak, we've got like 20 spots. Well, we take in 15 to 20 cars a day. If we have 5 left over, we put them inside at night if we can. But there's no tearing down cars in a parking lot, putting jack stands under cars. That's what we're kind of getting at here. If you got 2 cars left over, 3 cars left over, or you get some drop-offs in the middle of the night, you're always gonna see, yes, 2 or 3 cars out there. But we're not gonna have 30 cars sitting in a parking lot at one time.
So that's just want to clarify, so no inoperable vehicles.
Right.
In the open parking lot.
Exactly. Yep.
But this facility won't have any long-term storage.
Not at all. We don't have any long-term storage now. We try to keep a clean place as we speak, so.
I guess it'd be kind of similar to what we kind of see with Gateway, where,
Yeah.
they don't have a fence or nothing, but people drop off cars and then they pull.
I just feel like most fencing, I think me and Austin went over this at one time, most fencing just does not, it's not real eye appealing, especially wood fencing and whatnot.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I have one real quick.
Yes, sir.
So as far as we were talking about the building that's beside it, the realty place and all that, as far as visually the berm and the fence that's gonna go up, is that gonna make this building less visible than the buildings that are already existing there? Or is it gonna be about the same?
Well, it will from the rear. It'll make a difference from
That's
the
what I'm talking
rear.
about, from the rear.
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
homeowners, it'll
yeah,
be less.
because they don't have, to my knowledge, there's not a berm there. And so this will be that plus a fence and everything that they can do to screen that, yeah.
And you said it's actually gonna be a 6-foot brick wall.
Yes,
Right, not a fence.
on top of the 3-foot berm, right.
So, and that wall will extend the,
The width,
of the lot?
I think so, yeah, it goes from one side to the other, isn't that correct? Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Austin, isn't there some type of automotive facility north of this that we approved? Was it Burleson's?
It's a great example. Why don't you pull it up and look at it?
North-
3250.
Northeast of this? Or was that, It wasn't Burleson's, and this is something, maybe it was the people that own the Toyota.
Yeah, no, we just did the Toyota dealer is gonna be putting in a body shop next to the fire department.
Right.
There's a body shop.
Where is that? Can you pull that up on the map?
It's not built yet, but I can pull up the plan.
Yeah, or just the location in relation to this.
So I think we're talking about a bunch of different things, but.
Yeah,
right
but it's
next
not
to the fire.
Burleson's. This is something that's not built yet.
This was an existing Joy Health PUD. It was an adult living facility that never came to fruition. And Toyota either had option or purchased, I don't remember which, this portion of the property and wanted to do a detail shop for their facility for Toyota. And that was a PUD amendment. That was a year or so ago.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard
I
anything
think
from that.
I think they bought the whole property, but they were only putting body shop, detail shop
That
on
may
the
have been what it
section
was.
next to the
was-
fire department.
Yeah,
And
it
that
was more on the
lot-
left side.
And the other one is they were selling off the other half. of
Okay,
it.
I may have it backwards. But yeah, that was I think what we were
Okay.
a year ago.
I couldn't remember the details yet.
I think they originally wanted to do it.
Were they required to have any kind of fencing in the front, or?
Not in front. Their buffer was a little bit different because they buffered the berm on the side against their neighbors on the east side, but not on the front. Actually, I might be speaking out of turn. I think they were a gate on the front because they were going to have overnight storage of vehicles. I think
I
it was
thought they
verbatim.
had something locked to lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a gate that came up to the building that was gonna mask the cars behind it.
Right. Well, that's right next to the fire department, yeah. And that, there's two lots there, and then I think there's still a for sale sign for that other lot, because they wasn't gonna be right next to those houses,
Okay.
from what I remember. They had to buy that one.
On McIngvale.
I know the one on Burleson's has a ton of storage out. I mean, he has vehicles all over the place out there.
It's visible into the neighborhood.
There's plenty of
It's east, I
car
guess.
Oh
East
yeah,
of
Burles
this.
is down here.
overflow. That's what we have to compare it to, right there.
There's been a FedEx truck parked in Burleson's.
Ma'am,
Hang on, you can start.
we're gonna give you a chance to come up and have as much time as you need. Any other questions for the applicant? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety.
I'm Melinda Peoples. I live at 1194 Greenwich Drive. I have never spoken at anything like this before. I have nothing prepared, but I am completely opposed to this. I'm happy for anyone to have a business and make a living, but I already have to drive past the Toyota dealership, a car wash, another tire shop, and now there's going to be more stuff that I have to look at every time I leave and enter my neighborhood. In Burleson's, I sit in my kitchen and I see a FedEx truck every day. It has been parked there for months and months and months. And I'm on Greenwich, and I can see that FedEx truck in Burleson's lot from inside my house. I don't want anything else like this. Leave it retail, leave it office space, not an auto body shop.
But can I ask something real quick? Is your concern about about this, when you're saying leave it retail or whatever, so I just want to be clear about this. So your concern is not so much being able to see a building there?
No.
It's more
The
so
type of business.
what you've seen with the other
Yes.
ones? Okay.
And that end of the town is covered up with that type of business. We don't need any more right there. And it may be convenient for me to get my car fixed there, but I won't go there. I don't use that gas station. I don't want any other businesses like that near my neighborhood.
Also, do we have a list of what is approved in that existing PUD?
It's all C1.
It's C1 by the zoning ordinance. I can pull it up for you real quick in Unicode.
Yeah, it's mentioned in here, it's in the staff report, but I don't see
Okay,
it.
I got this list right here, you gonna see it?
All right, or Austin can pull it up so everybody can see it.
So there's quite a few, but
Yeah, there we go. That's what's allowed currently in the, as is. So
You ready?
car wash is in there, right?
Yes.
All right, I appreciate it.
Now, okay. Hi, my name is Angie Flaherty. I live at 1356 Big Bend North, and that's not right backed up to where this auto repair facility would be, but it's just right around the corner. Melinda made a lot of good points, but there's something else. That gas station, and this is on me, was up before I knew it. And immediately I thought about what's happening in Memphis, Tennessee. A lot of the crime happens at gas stations. South Haven has stopped some of it. But I have been in Edgewater almost since day one, and it was a very nice, seemingly safe place. And the more y'all develop, the less safe I'm feeling. So, you know, maybe y'all can get security systems and security doors, but I kind of doubt that. I just don't think this is a good move for Hernando. Too much development, too fast. I don't think that's going to end well. That's just my opinion as a 23-year resident of Edgewater. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Martin Hall. I'm currently chairman of the board and the president of the Edgewater Homeowner Association. With me tonight is my vice president, Molly Seaver. She's been on the board for many more years than I have. I've been serving in this chair for now 3 terms. We have some concerns. The only thing that we can really, it was, well, let me back up. So it was designated as retail to support our neighborhood. That's why it's called the Edgewater PUD. And the original design of the neighborhood is nothing what we ended up with today, but needless to say, that's a whole different story. So there's no parks, there's nothing for the kids to play, blah, blah, blah. That was intended for retail to support our community, like 7-Eleven, mommy needs milk, daddy needs cigarettes. And in the course of the time, it's been a candy store and there's been some other retail there. I think we all got excited when we saw Shell coming. Some of us did. Anyway, it was some activity. So we were hoping for grander things other than more retail, automotive repair, because what we have to look at, if you pull up Burleson's, as I said, and I would really love to show you all what I'm talking about, 32, if you can go down McIngvale Road for me. And again, I'm a big customer. I'm no longer a customer of an automobile repair on Holly Springs Road, but if you look at that on the map, it looks like a pull-apart junkyard. The Burleson automotive repair, I'm sure they didn't intend to have any, you're not going to pull it up for me. They didn't intend to have any repair overnight visits either, but I mean, I'll pass my phone around if you don't want to pull it up. I mean, it's the only thing we have.
I think we're getting confused.
Sir, it's on the screen. It's on the screen.
Oh, I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. I don't know. I didn't see your movement. I'm sorry. But anyway, expand it a little bit and look at the volume of the cars there. So those aren't intent. Those are people that couldn't pay the bill probably. And you're telling me, you're going to convince us that that's not going to be the case. But those are all Edgewater homes. So less than a couple hundred feet down the road, we're proposing another. So I kind of get Melinda's point. It's not attractive. It's all we have to go by. I mean, past performance is a future indicator. I'm not really sure. The building's beautiful. We have a number of great Mexican restaurants as well as automotive repair places in Hernando. I've been here for almost 20 years in this particular neighborhood. It's just not what we're looking for. We're looking for retail support. We're looking for, you know, someplace where the kids can go and ride a bike and grab a ice pop, or, you know, I mean, and I get it, we're not back in the 50s, but surely we can find a better use for, you know, that plot of land. A Dairy Queen. Dunkin' Donuts would have been cool, but that's been taken. Another liquor store, I don't know, but I know it's not an automotive repair shop that's gonna end up with a bunch of cars sitting around. And it's just too close to our property lines, and that's our problem. So we're not, you know, we're not ugly people, we're just worried about our property values, as you would be, and we got better use for that lot. I think just better function, I think, anyway. So on behalf of our 284 homeowners, Molly and I here represent, as a quorum, their voice. We're all opposed to this subdivision extension of automotive repair. Thank you.
Anyone else in support or against this item?
Can I say one thing? And this is just in general, and it has something to do with the lady that came up here before. I want to say this because I know that before I started on the planning commission, there were a lot of things, and I had some of the same, I guess, in some cases, misperceptions about how things happen. And what I've done is I've gotten on here and I've learned a lot about how things happen in town. And so I know that I used to say the same thing. We have a lot of this and we have a lot of that. The reality is, and once I started doing this, and I learned that based on how things are zoned, there are those right of use things that are already applied. So technically, somebody can come in and they can put a business there. If it's in that right of use, we wouldn't be sitting here tonight if they said, okay, I want to put one of the things that's already approved for that spot. One thing that you have to think about in a situation like this is we have the advantage of you can control some of those things. So I understand, I wouldn't want to sit and look at a bunch of cars out there either, by any means. But in this case, they are saying that they will come in and put a berm and put a fence, and that would be something that if somebody came in, correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody came in and built something that was already listed as a right of use there, they may not have to do all of that.
Yeah, we'll still have buffer yards, but the zoning change gives you a little bit more ammunition to ask for more.
Right. So it's a situation where something is going to go there at some point. And that's all these empty places throughout town. And there's not control on every situation unless they come to us and they're asking for a variance. We can't really control what goes in there if it meets the criteria. So you have to understand that there are some things that could go in there that would be worse than that if there were. What is one of the things that's on there? Radio towers is approved.
Car wash.
Another car wash?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I could, please, you know, this open space in our area is very, very limited. I mean, look at what happened to the old antique store, you know, after the old man died, right? Took a while to fill that, now there's a Dunkin' Donuts going there. So, you know, and then you look at properties like by the jail, you know, by the courthouse where that building's just crumbling on the corner being covered with kudzu. Very different messages as, you know, like to bring people from outside into my town. Because the town's got a little bit of everything, you know. But when something like a spot comes open, so let's see, maybe there's more activity coming. Maybe it's not the only, I mean, you know, I hate it for the business owner, but I mean, surely there's got to be, you know, bigger, better, grander things coming our way. Give it a chance to, you know, like the Shell just opened, so, I mean, look at the lot across the street that's agriculture. You just knocked that house down, thank God. That's been sitting vacant for a long time. I imagine that will fit the bill of, well, it was intended for agriculture, but it's going to be, you know.
That's what Commissioner Skeen was saying earlier, sir, that you're talking next to the fire station on Holly Springs?
Yeah,
that Toyota owns that, and it's already approved for a body shop.
That's awesome. So we're going to turn it to Summer Avenue.
So it was approved last year.
Let's slow down here a minute and just be clear on what
We need another grocery
the planning
store.
commission does here. Our job is to advise and recommend to the aldermen based on the controlled development of the city, based on what the zones are. This is C1 retail activity, neighborhood activity zoned. And in front of us tonight is wanting to rezone that to add a different type of facility on that property. What we have to do is deliberate on whether or not we would recommend to the alderman and say, yeah, we think another auto body shop on McIngvale would be a great spot. Or we don't think that's a good idea right now. But in the end, it still goes to the alderman. So we have to understand that the zones, as they were talking about, they're already approved, part of the future development plan, they've already been approved. So the property owner can build whatever they want on that piece of property. It's when they need changes or adjustments or variances, that's when it comes up here, and then we make a recommendation on that. Just so we're not confused as, this is not the end body here on this particular, does that make sense to everybody? Is that clear?
Yep.
Just want to get mixed signals on that. Now, that said, personally, my position on this commission is I'm concerned about another auto body on McIngvale. We have Burleson's, as you pointed out. We've got, was it United Tire? What's the one that used to be, it's right up there by the Hampton Inn or the Holiday Inn?
Yeah.
Ultimate Tire, yeah, that one. And then Gateway. So we've got 3 already on McIngvale as it is. Do we need another one in that neighborhood? Do we need another one in Hernando? Probably. It is a high demand. And if anybody goes to Gateway, I don't know if you do, but you're pretty much on a 3-4 day wait list just to get your car, your oil changed here lately. So is there a need for another auto repair in Hernando? Probably.
Grocery store.
Is that location the best location for an auto repair facility? I don't think so. That's me.
Thank you.
Anyone else in support against this item? All right, is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen of a rezoning request by Jones Davis Engineering, representing the owner of the property for preliminary development plan approval to amend the existing PUD for Edgewater Commercial Subdivision. The subject property is located on the south side of Holly Springs Road, east of McIngvale Road, in Section 20, Township 3, Range 7, based on the following findings, 1, 2, and 3.
Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Thorne,
Nay.
Commissioner Jordan,
Aye.
Commissioner Safley,
Aye.
Commissioner Max,
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth,
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen.
Aye.
The motion to approve this item passes. The next item is PL 1782, Getwell and Holly Springs C4. Request to revise 2 acres. The subject property is located on the south side of Holly Springs Road, west of Getwell Road, in Section 21, Township 3, Range 7, west. Houston Engineering, representing the owner.
May want to give it just.
All right, this is PL 1782. The request is a zoning map amendment for 2 acres at the corner of Holly Springs and Getwell Road. Shane King and Byron Houston with Houston Engineering are representing.
Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all.
Representing the applicant tonight.
Our property values.
This is a rezoning request for 2 acres. The request is to go from A to C4 plain commercial. The subject property is at the property you just mentioned, Commissioner Hawkins. C4 plain commercial is similar to a PUD. The applicant's required to submit a site plan, preliminary development plan, elevations, and proposed uses. And so that's what the applicant has done tonight. Master plan residential is the designation on the future land use plan, and I've included a description in your staff report for the recommendations from the comprehensive plan. Utilities are proposed to be water and sewer provided by the city of Hernando as an extension of the Gilbert subdivision currently under construction. Road improvements will be required to meet all the subdivision regulations. Getwell would be a full lane and a half, as it's a section line road, and then Holly Springs Road will meet the same road improvements as you see up and down the rest of Holly Springs Road. As a part of the preliminary development plan for the C4 Plain Commercial, the applicant did provide a building elevation. To note, the building is flipped from a typical convenience store. The pumps are in the rear, and then the principal structure is in the front. So something we recommended as we're seeing that become more of a popular site layout for a convenience store. They've modeled the architecture off of the structure next door, the garden center with the dormers and the pitch of the roof, along with the pitch on the canopy. The proposed uses are similar to that of the C1. One item that is different, and that is the primary purpose of the application, is for a convenience store. And so they proposed the convenience store and the pumps to be by right. And so, like you said, this would be, if rezoned, this would serve the preliminary development plan, it would be by right. The next application you'd see would be for a final plat. The permitted uses are included in your staff report, and then the site development plan, the bulk requirements are typical for C1. The buffer yards would be required to be a type 35 on all the surrounding residential sides. And that, similar to the last application, this would all be required to go through full certificate of development review. So everything you see here is pretty preliminary. All finished building elevations, site plans, landscaping would be required to go through that full administrative review. I believe I mentioned utilities, but it is an extension of the Gilbert subdivision currently under construction. Byron Houston's here tonight representing the application, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any question, Mr. Cados?
Why are we doing this as C4 and not, instead of like a C1?
So C1 is straight zoning. C4 is similar to a PUD. So C4 requires basically a full plan text. You provide elevations, you provide a site plan, landscaping, and you provide uses. And so it's basically a PUD, but strictly for commercial. There's no mix of uses other than the commercial uses.
But I think too, because the size of the building is over 20,000 square foot, and a C1, it can only be 10.
That's part of it, yep. But yeah, C4 gives us a whole lot more control of what the building looks like, how the site's laid out. The orientation of pumps was something to note on this one, and that's tied up with that information.
But so even if this is approved, the pumps are conditional use, so they would have to come back, right?
So the way they presented it with the C4, you present your own uses. So the applicants presented the pumps to be by right. So just basically to get it done in one hearing rather than two.
That's what that side awning thing, that's where the pumps would go.
Yes, sir, behind the building. It's got a gabled roof on the top of it, but it's behind the building.
Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety?
Byron Houston, Houston Engineering, P.O. Box 3087, Oxford, Mississippi, 38655. My client proposes to do this convenience store, and it'll look really close to the resident, like residential. The amendment that we're proposing does conform to the long-range plan. Adjacent to the property, there's a PUD, and this is part of, this development here seeks to serve the residential areas with neighborhood-type market. We're trying to keep with the character of the area and not have that, that big blast out in your face convenience store, that you normally see. There will be buffer zone around the west side and the south side with a composite, 6-foot composite fence with brick columns every 50 feet, landscape buffer between the fence and the property line. And we did submit a preliminary landscaping plan, and we'll follow all the regulations and everything. The growth in the area has contributed to, changing character, and we believe that this would fit and work really good with future planning. Any questions?
How many pumps are you proposing?
4 pumps.
So-
Hang on just a second.
So the offerings inside of the facility, is it going to be, it's not going to be, I know it says neighborhood market or whatever, but it won't be anything different than your standard gas station?
It'll be very similar to the gas station and probably have more food items than a, the normal, like a fruit stand and stuff like that.
So not like a true neighborhood market, though, not like a
Not really
produce
like a
and-
like a Walmart neighborhood market or something like that. But it will be, convenient items for locals that, one would hit a convenience store in the neighborhood. Not exactly like a Dollar General, but in some terms, yes. Some groceries, stuff like that.
And so I'm guessing there's gonna be 2, I guess, suites up front that are gonna be different businesses, or is that all gonna be one business?
There is a suite in the front, and it would be something different that would be on that list. There's nothing, 100% planned right now.
Just one suite?
I believe it. Yeah.
2,000 square feet?
Yeah, that's correct. Look at so many of these.
It kind of resembles almost that one that they built across from Lewisburg Schools on Craft Road, somewhat. Just by that picture.
That's what I had compared it to, yeah.
Landscaping looks nice. Y'all gonna do it, right?
Yes.
Not gonna back out on it.
No, we're gonna be held to the fire. I mean, once it's approved, we'll have to follow the plan.
Yeah, but we've seen in the past, like, other gas stations that got approved 10 or 15 years ago just
Yeah.
got built. So,
Yeah, I understand.
What is the timeline that,
They're wanting to start construction maybe later this year, maybe the first of next year, because we still have to go, we haven't even started any plans or anything. It'll take, probably 6 to 9 months to run through the department, and get all the plans approved. So looking at, September, maybe January next year.
so my question is the permitted uses, I mean, obviously you want it to be a C-store with pumps. But there's 2 pages of what it could be on here that I don't feel as we need. Is there any way that we could cross some of those off the list? Because I think that would help some people's minds. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be a C-store, so with one suite up front, it's,
Austin, is there a requirement to have and identify what's going in the front retail space as part of the approval? Or can the
Not
owner
s-
decide that after the building's open?
Not at this point. Basically, his box is those permitted uses that Commissioner Max talked about.
Yeah. Okay.
And so with it being C4 and not straight zoning, that can happen. You can strike uses, you can add uses, all that. So it was modeled after C1.
yeah, I see it pretty much mirrored C1.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was why I was.
I guess my question is that something we decide tonight, or
The uses are decided tonight.
the uses are, okay?
I'm thinking like an HR block when I see that.
Trying to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
problem striking through some of these.
That's right.
Just
Would it be best to maybe table it until next month so you can know what he is willing to strike? So you're not speaking for him?
I'd be favorable with that, if y'all wanna do that. And,
I mean, I personally
if y'all would
would
let me know,
Yeah.
kind of, give me an idea of, what your,
What the problems, yeah, which ones we don't
what your
feel are.
problematic and.
right. Austin, I have a question about that. So like on this one, for example, financial services, what does that cover? I mean, does that include like check cashing, loan day?
So that's separate. That'd be for a bank. Those are 2 separate uses.
Okay.
What is a cleaning pickup station?
That's
It's
I asked the
weird, he
same
asked me
thing.
the same question. I think it's cleaners.
But there, it says cleaners, it's like
Dry clean, okay.
self-service laundry and dry cleaning is listed also.
So self-service, I think it's like a laundromat.
Oh,
And then a cleaner
gotcha.
pickup stations where they do it for you, you pick it up.
Gotcha. Is there anything that you guys see that you would want to?
Well, 24 is a self-service laundry dry cleaning, so that, I mean, the same thing.
He just said that means like a laundromat. Like a
Yeah,
corner
self-service is where you do it yourself. The pickup station is like Blue
got it.
Ribbon.
Got it.
I'm not sure what all the number 26 accessory uses as provided in Article 7, what all falls in that.
So that's for an accessory building or uses. It's really geared towards residential. An accessory use is technically like a swimming pool, a tennis court, barbecue grill.
Oh, okay.
So it's just something in the zoning ordinance that's listed.
So, I mean, obviously, it probably would need an accessory dwelling unit, being a 20,000 square foot building.
Radio and television towers.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I don't see a whole lot that I'm concerned about.
No.
Yeah, I don't either, really.
Yeah, maybe the laundromat.
If you guys have any, I mean, if it's not very many, we could strike it tonight, more than likely. I mean, I got a kind of an idea what he wants to do, but
The obvious one is number 21.
21, yeah. I would've struck that if I'd looked at it closer.
Strike 21 and 24, and does anybody else got any other concerns?
Commissioner Sadler, you got anything else?
No, I was looking through it and seeing. And one other thing I was gonna ask Austin, so as far as all of and I didn't go look at the map, so all the property around there, I guess the other concern would be that, is this gonna be, like we see so many other areas, where when this goes in, then somebody's gonna wanna put a competing convenience store on the next corner, and then we're there. And so that kind of sets the whole tone. That whole area right now is wide open. And so we can make whatever, we can mold it into whatever the best option is. Once this goes in, is that going to set the tone for that whole big intersection there? When we know that right down Holly Springs is a new gas station, and pretty soon up Getwell is going to be that new development, which is going to have one up there.
So anytime there's a zoning change, I fully expect someone else to use that as a proof of change.
Right.
That's the fact of life. Whether that's justifiable proof that y'all see as enough is really up to y'all's discretion. And
But
so,
the diagonal property is county, so that wouldn't,
yeah, actually all of them are county.
all the other three.
But it could
corners are
still be
county.
used, could it not, if they came, when they came before.
They actually, there was a sign up I seen, and Austin did some research for me. They tried to get the same request that this applicant is asking tonight, an AR to a C4. And then they didn't get it, and then they were supposed to have it scheduled last year, but they withdrew their application.
So they tried to get it within the county and it was not approved?
Somebody did, well, the first time, and then there was gonna be represented it with different plans, or I don't know, you know if it's the same applicant.
So if this gets approved, that just gives them ammunition to go back and,
The county could approve, you said all three other corners are county?
The rest of the three corners are in the county, yep.
They align with the same zoning,
We roughly have the same zoning ordinances.
so that four corners are the same.
Current
C4.
zoning is what you're asking, or?
Yeah.
Right now, yeah, all the four corners are zoned A. To your point, I expect applicants to use that as a reason for a change. Now, I can't speak for the county of how they would vote, but the burden of proof's on the applicant to prove there's been enough of a change to justify their request. And so you could see that as enough of a change, or you could say that's not enough of a change. And honestly, the extension of utilities has been the biggest barrier of development for this corner for a long time. And Gilbreth subdivisions extending water and sewer benefits this corner specifically. And,
well, there's only so much there's only so much property, obviously, to develop. And apparently, as people have mentioned on some of these other things, there are certain businesses that seem to be very popular. And I know in your master plan, things were kind of taking that into consideration. So the more we change that and allow for those changes to happen, we're setting our growth up to look kind of like it's already starting to look in some areas where there's a whole lot of the same thing on top of each other and not leaving much room for other businesses.
Yeah.
Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward and state your name and address in its entirety.
I am Kathy Davis Sanders, and I have property off of Holly Springs as well as Getwell. I have lived in that area for 80 years. We had 3 stores at one time, and it was wonderful that we could go someplace for milk, gas, and the same thing is today. We don't have a store. There are many, many homes. We have to go across the bottom to the store over there, or you have to come to town to get gas and I have people that work there and they have to come to town to get things that are so easy to pick up. That's beautiful, you know, to see that. But I hear what you're saying about this is city and the other property is county. So you all have to deal with that. I'm just, from a convenience standpoint, I would just like to speak to that. It's so needed, a store in that area. Thank you.
Meeting for this discussion. My name's Barry McDermott. I'm at 94 Pleasant Bend Cove in Hernando, but I grew up in that area. Familiar with the Getwell area and the Holly Springs. I think he mentioned it was 4 lots there available, but I know there should be a house, as the lady said, at Getwell and Holly Springs cross at that one point. So that being said, I'm looking at the current road conditions. Has thought gone into place for the current road where it's basically a 2-lane road, the last I went through there, with a blinking 4-way stoplight? So this will generate traffic. It will generate more exit traffic out of that location. So that's just one thing to add as you think about this, additional resources and monies that it will take to get that into place. So it will not be a hindrance to that community, but be a helpmeet to that community.
I'm Jill Davis Pulliam. I live at the corner of Holly Springs and Getwell. This is the 3rd time we've tried to get a store in this area. In 2016, my neighbor who owned the property at the northeast corner tried to have a neighborhood market there, and it was turned down. And then last year it was turned down. Well, I don't know if y'all are familiar with this area, but the traffic count is 4,100 now. Getwell has been resurfaced. Bright has been resurfaced. And like Kathy said, the nearest store, well, it would be a toss-up. There's Smart's Grocery. I think it's maybe 4 miles to the east. And then there's a store at Starland, but wait, I forgot about the Exxon or the Shell that y'all approved in the worst corner in Hernando that was built recently or within the past year and a half, 2 years or something. But we don't have anything in our area. And it might not be important to y'all, but I run out of gas on my lawnmower. I want to get milk. I want to get bread. And I'm sure there's people who are opposed to this, but I was born there. I still live there. And the changes are beyond rural now. There's 99 houses, the Gilbreth subdivision, I don't know the name of it, but I think that's what it is. There's Short Fork with 650. There's Fieldstone or Field something down Holly Springs Road. There's Grays Creek. Everything is being approved around us residential. But like Kathy said, we have to come to town to get whatever we want. And it's okay to come to town, but I know y'all have all been on Commerce in the morning and in the afternoon. So even though I live at that corner, I just think it would be beneficial. And I hope I didn't offend any neighbors.
Are there any uses you're concerned about? Because we're talking about marking out some uses.
Maybe the laundromat.
Okay. Are you okay with restaurants,
Yeah.
nursery, office?
Yes.
Well, unfortunately,
Well, whatever.
we can't.
We can't
I
control
mean,
that.
there's 99 houses going up right beside me and all these others, so it being a rural community has passed years ago. I mean, I shot my first quail on Getwell and Holly Springs. That's never gonna happen again. And that's what's happened in this area. It's just built up to where I'm not gonna fight it anymore, and I'd like to have a store to go to without going under 55.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because when I was talking about it earlier, my thought process was, you hear so many times people are upset about those things, and once they start dropping in, they're like, oh, we've got all this here, and we're having to deal with it, and it sounds like it's something that y'all really want. So if it opened the door for more to be there, and
That's right.
it turned out where there were 2 or 3 on that corner, y'all would not be opposed to that? Okay.
I mean, I'm not, I can't speak for another person, but.
Right.
I'm not.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else in support or against this item?
Jared Darby, 2070 St. Ives Lane. I live right around the corner. Good evening, commissioners. How are y'all? You didn't call for folks that are kind of against it, but kind of for it, so I'm going to represent that category if that's okay. I had an opportunity to look through the development plan this morning and again this afternoon. I found about, I think it's 27 issues I would have with this development plan, just in general. A lot of it is the list of uses, landscape plan, lighting, irrigation, just some things that weren't addressed by the applicant that I think is very important moving forward with a store of this type. I would respectfully request that the Planning Commission recommend tabling this item. I would love an opportunity to work with staff and work with the applicant on some of the list of uses and some of the deficiencies that I found throughout the application that I have some serious concerns over. Be happy to go through all 27 of those issues if you'd like, but I would, I think, rather have the opportunity to chat with the applicant with staff's assistance. Just, for an example, accessory dwelling unit, indoor recreation center, music or dancing academy, nursery school, photo finishing. I mean, some of these uses are outdated. If you take a look at the size of the lot itself, it's 2 acres. You start taking away the setbacks and the required utility easements. You just don't have a lot of room to build the type of building that can host many of these uses. And then, of course, you talk about the character of the neighborhood. Cannabis research facility, cannabis testing facility, cannabis transportation entity, medical cannabis dispensary. I just don't think that's what we're looking for in that particular part of Hernando. Looking at the conditional permanent uses, club, lodge, or country club, again, looking at size, schools, public or private, car wash, theaters, but not drive-in theaters. I just think some of this could be looked at a little bit more closely with the applicant. And again, some of the statements in regards to why this zoning amendment is warranted, I'm not finding that in his application. A lot of things that are stated but don't reference actual tables or exhibits. We're missing some of the requirements in terms of irrigation and landscape. Again, I'm not terribly against it because it's two arterial roads that do cross at some point, right? So it's going to be commercial at some point, but I think we do have a great opportunity here to make a really great development that both the applicant's happy with and the surrounding community's happy with, the planning commission's happy with, staff's happy with, and the board of aldermen. But I think as the package currently exists, there are some issues. Grounds for denial, I think you can make a strong argument this is a spot zoning. There is no commercial within a half a mile of this particular area except for the little landscape place just right down, but that's a very non-intense use, not like a convenience store would be. And also it is not in conformance with the future land use development plan as master plan residential. So I would respectfully request an opportunity to get with staff and the applicant to review this development plan and see if we can come to some sort of agreement over some of these items that we have here. If not, then we don't, but I would like an opportunity to do that. And I think we could wrap that up in a couple of weeks and come back and bring a really great application and development plan to you that would make sense for everyone involved. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else for or against this item? Commissioners have any more questions or comments?
Gary, what were your concerns, other than the cannabis testing facilities? What other
uses
did you want to take
Thank you,
out?
Commissioner. I appreciate that. So we see what the building's going to look like, right? It's a small convenience store with a couple of two small retail centers, right? So a lot of these uses that are listed aren't viable. They're not big enough. It's a 2-acre lot that's cut down, but half of it's cut down by your setbacks and parking lot requirements. So,
Well, the economics of it will kind of dictate that.
Sure, but I think you want to get rid of some of these things just for accessory dwelling unit. I'm not sure why that's there. But the indoor recreation center, arcade with video pinball machines, excluding theaters, bowling alleys, and skating rinks, that's not going to happen there at any stretch of the imagination.
And I think what the applicant did is just listed what could be there, not that these are some of the things that they are thinking about doing.
Right, but at the end of the day, I think with 2 acres, they're extremely limited. I would ask that the applicant clean those uses up, since they would not be viable uses. Post office or postal facility, I marked that out, but I guess at the end of the day, that could very well be a use. You guys mentioned radio and television towers. Music or dancing academy usually takes a larger square footage. Nursery school, same. And again, the veterinary, I marked out veterinary clinic where there are no open kennels. I suppose you could have a very small veterinary clinic, but most clinics that I'm familiar with veterinary are pretty rather large. And then, of course, when it comes just to the character of the residents and the surrounding area, the cannabis, I don't think that's particularly necessary for this facility. And then a lot of conditional uses doesn't all that well make sense. Churches, club lodge, country clubs, schools, public or private, car wash, theaters. Temporary use of prefabricated buildings, radio and television towers, expansion of non-conforming uses, cannabis cultivation facility, cannabis disposal entity, cannabis proceeding. I think that's, I believe in what this gentleman's doing, our development is doing. I think the effort that he has shown in this development plan is quality. I just think we could shore up some of the things to really make it a great impact for our neighborhood. I would respectfully request just a little time to work with staff and the applicant.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
And it's on what you're saying as far as working with the staff and resolving it. Is that something that is normal in that people would come in and?
I know Jared, so like we're colleagues, but not really, honestly. I mean, it's the applicant's application, so I can't change it for him.
Right.
I could recommend changes, and we could clean a lot of these things up, of course.
Right.
But I can't shape an application for the applicant. It'd almost be like Jared and the applicant work together to bring.
Right.
I think. Just
So if that were the case, it would be more him working with the applicant, not working with.
It'd be a collaborative effort, but I just, who does what is a very fine line of how to shape the application between you, because.
But not typically necessary.
The burden of proof is on the applicant to prove the change or a mistake. And so, ultimately the applicant would become pros in these changes. It wouldn't be me shaping the application to get to you.
Right. So.
And you were open to tabling this for that very discussion, right?
I can work with him. We could table it and do it, come back next month. And, some of that stuff we could strike off of there.
Yeah, they just
That's
They
kind of
just
copy
copied C1 exactly to it.
Exactly.
Copy and paste,
Right.
And we're only a recommendation. I mean, is y'all want to try to meet this week before it goes to the board, or would you rather us table it?
I'd like to get it passed, and if we could work this week and, and get it worked out this week, and then let the board have a final decision, that would be okay, or we're not going to the board till next month, are we?
16th.
Be next week.
That's what's published as.
And I appreciate the developer and the applicant's hurry to walk through this, but he himself said they're not even going to get started until early of 2025. I think if we slow down just a bit and have an opportunity for me to reach out to them and see if I can address some of the concerns of my subdivision and neighboring subdivisions, that would make more sense than try to rush something through in a week.
So is there a motion to approve, deny, table this item?
I'll make a motion to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Clark?
Nay.
Commissioner Thorne?
Aye.
Commissioner Jordan?
Nay.
Commissioner Safley?
Yay.
Commissioner Max?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Aye.
Commissioner Skeen?
Aye.
The motion to table this item passes. Get to next month.
The next month.
Let's table it to a certain date.
Yeah, I was going to recommend a date, so we would.
1 month.
February the 13th is our February meeting.
What's the date?
February the 13th.
Yeah, 1 month, February 13th.
Can I amend the motion?
Does everybody agree? I know.
Yeah, that's fine, and just
Yeah.
mainly to clean up the use, kind of like we all agree.
All right, next item is PL 1783, Elm Street and Robinson PUD. Request to revise .32 acres from R12 to PUD. The subject property is located on the southeast corner of Elm Street, West Robinson, east of McIngvale Road. Parcel number is in this item in Section 13, Township 3, Range 8. Jon Lovell, owner of the property. Mr. Cadocia, present planning staff report and comment.
Yeah, so this is PL 1783. The request is to rezone .319 acres at the southeast corner of Elm and West Robinson to from R12 to PUD. Applicant Jon Lovell's here tonight to represent the application. The general development plan identifies this parcel to develop a residential single-family low density land use designation. There's a variety of subsets, and I've included that full map in your staff report. The applicant did provide responses to the 3 criteria for approval or denial in a zoning. And generally speaking, what the applicant is proposing is to change the single-family lot into a PUD zoning that allows for a 3-unit multifamily structure. The applicant provided a preliminary site plan and building elevations. Full review will come when the permit is submitted for, but quick note on some of the applicant's proposal. The building elevation provided for is intended to complement the historic district and model itself to look like a single-family home, but to host 3 possible units for rent. The parking on the site is listed as 6 spaces, which is what's required in the zoning ordinance for 3 units, 2 per space. Directionally queued with access both off of Robinson and Elm. And then the setbacks included in the staff report are unique to this site. As you see, it's oriented closer to West Robinson and Elm to give that front setback and that front facade that you see a lot in the historic district of the close front setbacks. The landscape plan is preliminary, but since this is multifamily, it's required to go through certificate of development, even though it is a residential structure. He did provide a plan text to give you an idea of his interpretation of changes in the neighborhood and his proposed common open space, which is mainly the parking area and the landscape islands around around the building. And the ownership, maintenance, and preservation will all be handled by the owner, which is himself. Mr. Lovell's here tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions for Bill? Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and address?
Jon Lovell, 1650 Single Tree Drive, Hernando. I've been in the real estate business 20-plus years, and I have a couple rentals in the area already, and it's pretty often that I get texts for people looking for rentals in that area, and so that's one of the main reasons that I'm trying to get that approved.
So the driveway would be between this house and the other house on Elm?
Yes.
Go down that property?
Yes, sir. There's a gas meter on that corner that Atmos blessed me with, so that's going to be probably the best route to take.
And then another entrance on Robinson.
Yeah, and that would come in on Elm and leave out on Robinson, and that would come out almost where Timber Lane comes out on Robinson currently.
Right at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. Yep.
You're proposing to be one-way in, kind of a
That would
one-way
be the
route
plan,
in?
yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a big elevation change on that property, isn't it?
It's on a hill. It's the top of the hill right there.
Yep.
There's a ditch, I guess that's what.
Yeah,
left
that's
side of
the
that.
area there on the bottom half of the lot there.
My only concern with this piece of property is you want to put 3 units. I drove by the lot. That's a very small lot.
Yep.
And to put 3 units there with theoretically 6 cars, but there's probably going to be more cars. That's just a really tight spot. Would there be any way to make it 2 units and not 3?
Yeah, I looked at doing 2 two-bedroom units versus 3 one-bedroom units, and I currently have a duplex in Midtown that's 1-bedroom units, and I think it'll actually be less traffic with 3 one-bedrooms versus 2 two-bedrooms.
I could see that.
So
That actually makes sense.
I've had this lot for 16 years, so I've had some time to think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, it's like, we talked the other day, my only concern is this lot sit inside the historic district?
It's one lot outside of it.
Yes, sir.
It is one lot
The next door
outside
neighbor
of
is.
is that right? Okay. You're safe.
Thank you, Shelley and Bob Barber.
But to speak to that, though, I think the architecture, if you build what's presented, I think
Yes.
that does look really nice.
That's the idea, is to keep it historic. I mean, that end of Elm, there's so many nice houses on this end that to have something comparable on that end, I think it would be nice. And these units will rent between $1,500 and $2,000 a month, so they're not gonna be cheap. This is gonna be an expensive build.
Well,
It's a lot on one bedroom.
you know,
It is.
economy speaking, that's kind of affordable for a lot. But I like the idea of one-bedroom units because it gives the younger, you know, newly couples and single or elder, you know, just
Yeah.
gives people different options than, you know, a
Well-
two-bedroom or a three-bedroom.
Yeah, and, you know, I've had rentals for a long time, and usually when you have roommates, one roommate is waiting on the other for the other half of rent. I'm kind of looking for the client that doesn't want a roommate.
What is your experience with one-bedroom tenants? What type of,
They're usually younger, older professionals, and some of the best tenants I have. I've had some tenants 18 years, the same tenant, and that's kind of what I'm going for here.
My concern is, can you pull up the zoning around there?
There are 3 duplexes across the street from this property with the same current zoning as this property.
Yeah, I seen those older ones across, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think when I looked at it the other day, I mean, my concern is, like somebody said in the last application, like a spot zoning, like, everything else is R12 everywhere around it.
Yeah. I believe even the fourplex behind the library is R12.
Are the duplexes across the street and up a little bit, are they in R12, I guess? They're
Yes.
just-
Right there.
They're just grandfathered
We
in.
did a bunch of research, I
Yeah.
have no idea how they came about.
I know, we tried, and there's another one on Hillvale too, right there, that's also R12. So,
And a lot of times if it's an existing structure, over time, they kind of evolve. Like you'll get 2 roommates and then someone builds a wall and they kind of evolve to a 2-tenant structure. The ones across the street were built as 2 units, and so we don't know how.
the idea is to make it look like a single-family dwelling, no double doors or anything like that.
I like the structure. I like the design. I just, as we've talked,
Yeah.
I just am not crazy about having that much parking.
Sure.
3, you know,
Yeah.
3
yeah,
units.
kind of with Commissioner Clark on this, it just seems like a very small lot.
Yeah.
for-
If you've ever been to South Bluffs or Harbortown, the row-style housing, I mean, that'll be, you know, what'll have to go there.
That would be great, but the houses all lined up down Elm aren't that type, that style of house, that type.
Well,
You know, they're all
I'm talking about as
single-family
far as the
residential.
width and the length and that kind of thing.
And then that other, I mean, it would need, I agree, it needs that other ingress egress on Robinson, but as we all know, Robinson can be a nightmare for traffic.
Well, that's right.
Especially on a soccer Saturday.
On the hill.
And at the bottom, yeah, that's why I mentioned the elevation change, you know, earlier.
I guess the other thing is, you know, I could go in there and build a, you know, 1,000-square-foot, 4-bedroom rental house and put 10 cars in the driveway, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. And I don't think I would need any approval to do that, would I, Austin?
Technically, no. It'd just be a
Okay.
single-family home. If it's less than 5 or less, 11 parties is what qualifies for a family.
I mean, it's not met the requirements of R12.
Yeah.
Sure. Chip was gonna try to get Atmos to bury that meter, but didn't work.
Wish I could bury
You blessed you the same day they blessed me. Any more questions from anybody?
What's your timeline on this?
You know, if I can get it approved, Commissioner, I'll start working on, I'll spend more time and money, but I would probably say this won't happen till sometime next year. I've got a couple other projects to finish up. Thank you.
Anyone in support or against this item, please come forward. State your name and address.
I have questions more than anything else.
Name and
West
address.
Robinson,
Name and address.
oh, excuse me, Eileen Fields, 491 Cedar Cove. When I look out any window in the back of my house, what I see is that lot and the hole in front of it that's on the other side that has been created in part by man digging up the easement that was supposed to be there to help widen the road. And in fact, they've dug out dirt and filled in holes other places. So any easement that comes on that narrow lot is gonna have to probably be on that side of the road. West Robinson and Robinson in general is a well-traveled roadway. There's a fairly steep hill at that exact location. Both full lanes are needed to safely travel and turn on either Elm Street or Timber Lane, depending on the direction you're traveling. No vehicles of any kind need to ever be parked on Robinson on that hill. In icy weather, it can be very slick. Across the street from this lot is a deeply cut drop-off where another new house is going to be built at some point in time. There's no area much for a road easement on that side of the road. So that, again, is going to make a question of traffic usage. West Robinson is used as a cut-through from 2-lane to Highway 51's traffic light and beyond by people avoiding Hernando's one-way square and Highway 304. People use West Robinson as a cut-through to avoid the train snafu on Commerce Street because usually the trains flow across Robinson Road fairly quickly. The route from Elm to West Robinson and Timber Lane is kind of a Zorro. If you go across there, it's used by fire trucks, ambulances, school buses, delivery vans, and lighter trucks, garbage trucks, and other heavy vehicles. Elm, Robin, Timber Lane is the route used for multiple foot races and other races, bicycles and what have you, the water tower, for example. It is the cut-through route for people going to vote, to pay utilities if they pay in person, parents pushing or walking their children to the Saturday market on the square and the library, etc. It's used for all kinds of things. The fairly steep hill at the lot's location really needs both full lanes to accommodate traffic in this area safely. Neither Elm nor Timber Lane needs to be blocked for any length of time either, because that's really going to cause a bottleneck through there. Absolutely no vehicle of any kind, not even a bicycle, needs to ever be parked on the street by this lot because it is a hill. Due to the steep embankment and dirt work that was done across the street, all parking, as I think he's mentioned, is going to be accommodated on the lot itself. And that's great if they can do that. What happens if they have company? Where are they going to park? You've still got to accommodate other people's vehicles. For example, a duplex needs 4 parking spaces on the lot. If 2 couples live there, a single house would need at least 2 spaces. Multiply each unit by 2 to get the minimum number of spaces needed just for parking. Is all that going to fit on that lot? It's narrow. Remember, you've got to take an easement off of that too if you widen that road. And then at the bottom of that, there's a ditch. And most people don't take into account those little ditches. But that's a water flow through there. And that's some of the problems they're having in the lot across this street where they're building the new houses. They have an erosion problem that is just unbelievable. They keep fixing it and it keeps messing up. So that's another thing that you're going to have to be careful that you don't affect the water flowing through there, or you could have water backing up into some other people's houses. People tend to fly over that hill. There's nowhere on that hill that's really safe to pull out on Robinson. Nowhere. I've looked at it. I look at it every day. I have to look at it. It's the only image I have when I look out. It's like an IMAX image, just large screen. I've got a double glass door in the back. That's all I see is this lot. And I appreciate any architecture features. It doesn't matter what the architectural style is. A lot of 70s houses are in there. Some of the newer ones are made to look like an older style house. None of that's really important. What's important is the safety of the people that live there and the people that are going to have to travel through there. There's nowhere to go if an accident occurs except down on that side of the road where they've ditched out. And it's a big hole. I hope this information will be part of public record because this decision is full of public safety issues. And in this location, it's very, very important that we think about that. We've got to think about the people that are going to live there, the people that are going to visit there. And I just hope you'll take it under consideration as to the placement of anything and how many vehicles are going to have to be accommodated there. And I think that's all I have to say, unless y'all have a question for me. All right.
How are y'all doing today? My name is Lawson McDermott. I live at 2240 Elm Street, about 2 houses down. I was also worried about the concerns of the safety with the parking. With that, it'll create a blind spot, in my opinion, if they park on that hill, which you have to kind of merge over on Robinson to oncoming traffic, which could also cause a wreck. And as I commute my wife, my daughter to work and daycare, I see it as a big liability, and I'm also concerned that it could affect the cost of my house as I just bought it. And yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name's Thomas Stevenson, and me and my brother, we own some property just adjacent to Mr. Lovell's project over on Timber Lane. I think too many times when the words apartments or townhomes are used in planning applications in Hernando, sometimes we tend to panic. I don't know what creates this fear, but rarely have our neighbors' worst nightmares come to fruition. The townhomes behind Fortillo's Italian Steakhouse are a beautiful addition to the town center. The apartments next to 1 Memphis Street are more of the same. They have not been a magnet for crime, noise, or any obnoxious behavior. The proposed townhomes by Jon Lovell are exactly the same as those developed by Dale Wilson. Articulately, they are accurate to the town and frankly an upgrade to the existing houses that surround the area of Elm, Robinson, and Timber Lane. And again, our properties are just across the street on Timber Lane. We own 4 properties there. We'll think it'd be an attractive neighbor to our properties, both enhancing the aesthetics of the neighborhood and will increase property values. And so we welcome Mr. Lovell's project. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rhonda Purdy. I live at 2358 Elm Street. When I first saw the design, I was excited about it because it is a beautiful home. The thing that I'm most concerned about is all of the cars, the parking, especially on that hill. If they're young couples, they're going to have guests, parties. Where are they going to park except on that hill? And people do fly over that hill, and it is a concern because we're, like the other neighbor said, where do they have to go but down into that hole? Also, with the construction, those vehicles on that hill would be a concern too. But my main concern really is with the number of cars and the parking, especially like a parking lot. Is it going to have, lines. Where are the entrances to the apartments? Are they two-story, or are there going to be entrances, 3 different entrances? Where are they going to be situated? Are there going to be stairs? Oh, sorry. I just have questions about that as well. Seems like there was something else. Oh, I was going to say, it was just kind of funny that we have the so-called, mansion district coming up at the end of our street, and then I guess we'll have the rental district at the other end now, because there are those duplexes, and I just don't want to set a precedent for multifamily rental homes on my street. Thank you.
I'm Barry McDermott. I live at 94 Pleasant Bend Cove. I had a question for John about the design. How is it inside? Is it 3 complete duplexes, bedroom, full bath, and kitchen area? Or is it like we're building in Oxford, a shared kitchen area with 3 different living spaces?
It's 3 different units, Barry. 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath per unit.
And what about the kitchen?
With kitchens,
Okay.
full units.
So it's not like a shared gallery downstairs like you have in Oxford?
No,
Because that was one of my concerns. The other thing is the traffic and parking. I do know that his entrance is coming in off Elm Street. There is a lot of traffic that is going up and down Elm Street, like they said, for the bypass, and for the neighbors. I know, looking to widen that, I know there's not a bike path on that route because you're already at your limit, so widening that road anymore to what it needs to really be is gonna be cumbersome, because you have houses on both sides already limiting your easements. And like they said, the parking is gonna be, one thing. I don't know how many square feet the total, building is gonna be. I don't know if it's like 5,000 or 6,000, you have 3 1,000 square foot units, or, so that with the parking, you're also gonna have a possibility of people, when they do have guests, start lining up along that back fence adjacent to that one neighbor. So I don't know if it's gonna be a fence put there to kind of hide that traffic row or not.
There's a fence there right now.
Yeah, I didn't know as far as if it may be one that's there. I don't know if you're gonna add another one or use the one that's existing, being the one that belonged to the neighbor.
Right now, that's the neighbor's fence, and that fence will stay.
So, there were some of the concerns that I had there. Once again, you do have, younger couples there and strollers. I don't know for the 1-bedroom rental, like John said, it could be a great tenant. Then again, you may have some singles that get in there. I don't know what your vetting is gonna be, but, some get in there that, may not be the exact person that you want to have in that area. Also the cars with a single person is a car that's gonna be parked in that area. Is it gonna be one that's gonna be always in need of repair or broken down while it's parked in that lot? Or is it gonna be one that is a good transportation car, not something just parking for like the space? So, like I said, just some concerns to think about, with what's going on with the development. Thank you.
Hi, Amy Brown, 480 West Commerce. I border Elm Street and Commerce Street. So who could argue with architectural design? And of course, we would want to hold him to that because, we've seen that before. You're talking about a gas station. Now we're talking about R12. So what is the change that would necessitate or even underscore a change from R12 that borders the historic district to now multi-family dwelling? There, for some reason in the 60s, those awful duplexes, on Robinson, why would we change going backwards is my only thing. Obviously, you have rentals. There's nothing against that. It's just having 3 and a parking lot. There is no parking lot on Elm Street. There's no parking lot on Robinson. It is a freeway, but there is no parking with stripes and 2 entrances on such a narrow lot. Is there a sidewalk planned? Or is there, don't we have to have a sidewalk?
I'm not opposed
I mean, I actually, there's nothing to connect it, is my point. I don't think you would even have room.
Just address us.
I'm sorry, you wouldn't have room for
I'm
a
sorry,
sidewalk.
address us instead of them.
Sorry, I did ask John. So if you have a sidewalk, I thought there might have been a requirement, even if you didn't. I'm just saying, there's just no room for a parking lot and, you know, the necessary landscape and things like that. But basically, it's R12 that borders the historic district, so I just don't see it going to 3-family, even if it's single. And I get it that you can't control who's going to be in a single-family rental, but there's maybe one unknown instead of like 3 unknowns if it's 3 different units. And just the traffic. We'll have to address that at a later date, but I don't even remember the numbers because Austin helped us with our attempt to get the speed bumps or speed humps. It was a crazy amount of cars. So I just think even saying we're opening a door to multifamily rentals in that area, Memphis Street looks great, but that's not R12. Elm Street is R12, Robinson is R12. Thank you.
Austin, have we, just a couple of questions for you. Is there anywhere else we've approved a PUD for an area that small, 0.3 of an acre?
The ones downtown, West Lane Townhomes, I think they're called, on Memphis Street.
Dale Wilson's?
Yeah, both of Dale's are the ones I'm thinking of.
Anything else those are PUD, that's a PUD?
That's a PUD. Ivy's a PUD behind Fratello's.
Those are all single family. Those are all yellow. Yeah, those are like the gentleman said, those are all single family units, like, they're not 3, I'm guessing.
I think the Ivies are single family. I think they're rentals. But
Yeah,
the other townhome on Memphis is multifamily.
Single resident, I guess you'd say.
Right. But to Russell's question, it was just, those are the only PUDs I can think of that are that smallest scale.
But we typically do PUDs, I mean, it's multiple tracks that we're involved in.
Yeah, it's typically a larger scale. Downtown PUD's kind of used because it's the only mechanism we have for anything that's a little bit out of the box.
Another question, I saw the driveway, it's right up next to the Valley property that's to the south. I know, is that included, is the driveway acceptable use with the setback right there?
Yes, no structures, but you can put a driveway in the setback.
A driveway is acceptable, okay.
I know it's such a small setback, but a PUD, I mean, it wouldn't have to be that much, but isn't it has to have some sort of common ground? Isn't it 10% or something?
It is. It's so small, the driveways, the parking area, and the landscape, everything exclusive. That's what he's proposing, yeah.
My concern is, you know, nothing around it is PUD. I'm not denying it would be a fantastic, you know, very nice building, like, compared, you know, a lot better than some of the other older homes around the area, but like just down Elm Street, like you say, there's mansions and stuff, and I'm just not sure about a single unit dwelling with 3 different inside it, with the traffic on Elm Street and of course Robinson.
Would reducing it to a duplex instead of a triplex reduce the footprint of the parking lot to satisfy the challenge with that easement in the parking?
So the 6 spaces for the 3 units is what's the minimum number of spaces required.
So 4 would be the minimum number for a duplex, right?
It would. And so I don't know if that would change the application to John's point of going to 3 single bedrooms versus 2 twos, or 1 2 and 1 1 or something. Just, I think it would be the same number of spaces roughly. The access to Robinson, I think, is one of the primary complaints, and then the parking requirement per unit is 2, and so that would be the minimum required.
These are all one level? Sorry, John?
2 down, 1 up.
2 down, 1 up. Okay.
So would they have a shared entrance, like main entrance, or is 3?
The front door would be unit number 1 down, back, unit number 2 down, and then there would be a side door for the staircase to the.
So they're three separate, okay.
So the front door entrance
Would face Elm.
face Elm, so whoever, the residents there would have to walk all the way around the building, I guess.
Well, there's a, that parking way, you'll see kind of a sidewalk there.
Yeah, but they'd have to walk from the rear of the building to the front.
Wait a minute, I don't see a path walking all the way to the front of the building.
Well,
Driveways.
This path on this bottom half would continue on.
Oh, I see, on the other side, yeah, okay.
I don't know why it's not on there.
You're talking about on the, I'm looking at it north-south, so the north side? Is that the path?
It will be on the north side.
No, it is.
Does R12 allow for duplex?
Single family.
He did at some point. There's three of them there.
Well, somehow.
Somehow.
Or pre-R12. I don't,
Yeah, pre-R12.
that may be pre-R12. I, to echo Ms. Brown's comment, that's moving backwards to put more units into a space, more rentals into a space. I like it I like the structure, I like the elevation, but not the idea of.
So the summary here, we're okay with the structure, we're okay with the architecture, okay with the triplex. We're concerned collectively about Robinson Road entrance and traffic parking.
Let me
I
ask,
mean, I'm
we,
not necessarily okay with triplex, like,
we have duplexes on the other side of the street. Are there parking issues with those duplexes?
They're bigger lots, I think. They're smaller houses.
They park on the street?
But they're at the top of the hill, they're not going up the hill, they're already up at the top of the hill. And that makes a big, huge difference.
Driving down that street, when you have cars parked on the side, does present a hazard for anybody walking, bicycling, or even two cars trying to pass, because there's not enough room for
It's a narrow street.
four cars to transfer.
No sidewalks.
I said, I just worry about, changing this to a PUD. A PUD is designed for in my opinion, and what it says in the book is multi-developments, a mixed use of commercial, residential, not a one lot.
Multiple tracks.
Yeah.
Could we
Because if
put a
it-
restriction on the PUD on it can only be a dwelling and not any other
Wait.
commercial activity on that lot?
I don't think the concern is commercial activity on the lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't, like, if John were to sell it, the next owner comes in and puts a daycare in there, or a dry cleaner, or something like that.
I don't think he'd be able to do that with the plan.
Yeah, no, because he has the PUD submitted as the plan. That
Gotcha.
It would only be, his plan that he's submitting would only be valid, approved. But it's just, and it's one lot off the commercial district too. Right, it borders the commercial district. I mean, the
Historic
historic
district,
district, excuse me. And like I said, there's a lot 2 doors down on Robinson that's got a for sale sign in it, so if this is approved for this, who's to say that that lot's not gonna come in and say there's been enough change in the area? 2 doors down, they want it too. Not that it matters with this application, but each one's separate. They're just, I mean,
Well, parking and traffic ultimately is renter beware. Right? I mean, you gotta know where you're moving in.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve, deny, or table this item?
I'll make a motion to recommend denial to the Board of Aldermen of a rezoning requested by Jon Lovell for a rezoning of
.319 acres from R12 to PUD. The subject property is located on the south side of West Robinson Street, east side of Elm Street, in Sections 13, Township 3, and Range 8, based upon the findings in 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Commissioner Clark,
Nay.
Commissioner Thorne,
Nay.
Commissioner Jordan,
Aye.
Commissioner Safley,
Aye.
Commissioner Max,
Aye.
Commissioner Ashworth,
Nay.
Commissioner Skeen.
Aye.
Motion to deny this item passes. It's our last item for tonight. You have it in.
There was a hiccup on the payment for the last 2 months on the planning commission, so we're gonna catch up this month. I didn't get any phone calls, so I don't know why I heard it, so sorry.
It's 3 months.
Well, I mentioned it when she called to check about coming, performing.
I work, man.
The point
Kristen, if I got a question, she's like, I already know what you're gonna ask.
And honestly, I think.
We didn't even talk about it today.
And that'll solve the parking issue, but I think he makes a better point. With the one, with the.
Did we make a motion to adjourn?
One motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Less cars than two units inside,